And welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Shane, and you're listening to the Fantasy Football Pros. So Mark is having a little work situation, so he's not able to make it into this episode again, but that's all right. I'm just going to go over to some Super Bowl highlights. You know, it was a great story for both these teams. I mean, you got the LA Rams, right, and Sean McVay. Fantastic head coach, one of the youngest coaches in the league. And, you know, this team just looked like it was primed to play in the Super Bowl. You know, they got Matthew Stafford in a trade with Detroit. You know, they got Cooper Kupp that, you know, looked better and better each year, but was always playing with Jared Goff. You know, they had Bobby Trees that was kind of having a down season. They lost him halfway through the season, but at the exact same time, they made a trade and got Odell Beckham Jr., which was just the best timing in the world. Because if you watch this game, Odell looked like he was the best wide receiver on their team. He was just making play after play. They got Cam Akers back just in time. You know, he started playing in the playoffs, and like it's just really, really surprising because, you know, he tore his Achilles and nobody really thought he was actually going to make it back this season at all. You know, we thought it was just going to be waiting until next season to see if he was going to come back, if he was even going to be healthy enough, if he was going to look the same at all. And it didn't really, you know, so far it hasn't looked like the same Cam Akers. He looks like he kind of lost some explosiveness, but, you know, that could be due to a whole year of, you know, resting his legs and not having the same strength that he used to. So perhaps next season, the beginning of next season, we'll actually see that come back. But he was definitely making some errors in passing defense. You know, he was letting some guys go that he shouldn't have. But a great story, regardless. You know, you got Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the NFL right now. Most intimidating, dominant defensive lineman. Just, you know, fantastic guy. Either way, you know, their team was just stacked from head to toe. And then you got the Bengals. And the Bengals are not that same team. But they got cool Joe Burrow, who just seems cool, calm, collected every single game. It's like it doesn't even matter to him. It's just another game, just playing catch. You know, partnering up with his buddy Chase. And those guys just, I mean, they just hit it from like week one. They just look so in sync with each other. And in this game too, it just looked like he kept on looking for Chase, and whenever he was open, he gave it to him, and Chase was making some great plays. What's even more surprising though is probably the Bengals defense. You know, they look pretty solid throughout the playoffs. And, you know, they went toe to toe with the Rams this game. And to be able to slow down that offense, especially, you know, Cooper Kupp, is kind of impressive. Obviously, they still have some offensive line issues. And if they were to fix that offensive line, you know, this team could definitely make it back to the Super Bowl. I mean, Joe Mixon didn't look horrible. Didn't look great. He made some nice plays, but he also got stuffed a lot. And, you know, if they had a line, this could have been a completely different game. One of the main stories I'd like to talk about is Mcpherson, the rookie kicker. In the playoffs, he went 14 for 14 with a long kick of 54 yards. And that also includes calling his kick that he was going to make it for a game-winning field goal. So you can call him Mr. Cocky Pants, but the guy was solid. Talk about clutch. Yeah, as a Chicago fan, we had Robbie Gould for years, and he was just, you know, gold. But, damn. 14 for 14 in the playoffs, a long 54. That is awesome. So the first quarter started off, you know, the Rams had the ball. They kept on giving the ball to Akers over and over again. They're running, doing short passes, and pretty much got nothing going. Which is what Stafford got his first sack of the game because Akers messed up on pass protection. He kind of blocked his own tackle from keeping up with the defensive end. The first quarter was just, I don't know if it's the two teams just feeling each other out or just really, really, could be the Super Bowl jitters or just really great plays by the defense, but it was kind of boring and nobody was really getting anything done until the second possession by the Rams, where they had a pretty decent catch and run by Cooper Kupp on the right sideline. And then Stafford is able to find Odell Beckham Jr. in the end zone for a touchdown, or the first touchdown of the game. And I don't know about you guys, but I really like the kind of games I want to watch is, Team A scores a touchdown, and then Team B scores a touchdown, and then Team A scores a touchdown, and then Team B scores a touchdown. Just a back and forth kind of game. And luckily we kind of got that. So the Bengals got the ball towards the end of the first half, and Burrow finds Jamar Chase along the right side of the sidelines. And I think it was like a 30 or 40-yard catch, but got him like right down to the end zone. But unfortunately, they weren't able to score, and they settled for the field goal. So now we're at 7-3. So kind of a pedestrian first quarter. And then to start the second quarter, Stafford finds Odell Beckham Jr. for another big gain. It just seemed like the Bengals wanted to double team Cooper Kupp, a very, very smart move, every play, which opened up a lot of room for Odell Beckham Jr. and even opened up some passing game for the running backs. And because they were able to throw to Odell and the running backs a lot, it tricked the Bengals, and Cooper Kupp faked that he was going to do that he was blocking in a play. And because he blocks so often and blocks so well, the defense bit, and they just thought he was blocking, and then he ran out to the end zone completely wide open. There was nobody there to defend him within like 10 yards, and it was an easy catch for a touchdown, which brought the game to 13-3, and getting towards that scary area of this is going to be a boring blowout. But Burrow just started marching down the field, making some really nice passes to his wide receivers, some nice plays by Joe Mixon. And then they pull a trick play where Burrow tossed the ball to Akers. Akers throws the ball to Higgins in the end zone for a touchdown, which I believe was the first trick play of the game, and successfully. So now the game is 13-10. And like I said, Odell Beckham Jr. looked like the best wide receiver on the Rams team. He was just, he was getting wide open and making a lot of yards after the catch. And towards the end of the second quarter, Stafford threw him the ball, and it was a non-contact injury. He just fell down to the ground holding his knee, and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. And it just looked like the typical ACL tear, which is so unfortunate because, Odell has just kind of been playing for organizations that haven't been able to, succeed. He was with the Giants for a long time, and he was just a star out there. And then he went over to the Browns, and the Browns, they just want to run the ball. They don't pass that often. So it wasn't really an ideal situation for him. And then he comes over to this team, and immediately, they go to the playoffs, and they're in the Super Bowl. So it's amazing for him. And yeah, he missed the rest of the game due to that injury. It was really unfortunate. And then Stafford even limped off the field, and his foot was getting wrapped, and it just seemed like the Bengals got some magic beans or something, and everything's just going their way. They, the Rams, they lose Odell Beckham Jr., and then Matthew Stafford looks injured, and it's okay, what's going on? But if you've known Stafford, the man plays injured without no issue. So the third quarter starts, and the Bengals have the ball. Joe Burrow throws the ball to Higgins, and originally it looked like Ramsey kind of blew the play, which had been his second blow against Higgins. But then when you see the replay, you actually see Higgins grab Ramsey's face mask and like yanks it the other way, like yanks it behind him, which is so illegal. And somehow the referees didn't see it. They didn't call it the touchdown stand. And these referees are kind of, I don't know. It seems like every Super Bowl, they either call every foul or they don't call any fouls. And in this game, they definitely were not calling any of the fouls. Not yet. So, yeah, Higgins was able to get Ramsey onto the ground with that face mask move, and he runs it in for an easy touchdown. So the Bengals are up 17-13. So after being down in the first half, then the Bengals were able to get the ball back again, score a field goal. So now they're up 13-20. So just a 7-point lead. And the Bengals are marching down the field, look kind of mediocre. They did a little trick play that, I forget what it's called, that Philly sweep or something. Where the quarterback tosses it to a wide receiver, then that wide receiver throws the ball back to the quarterback. But like it was not the greatest throw. And Stafford is not the most mobile quarterback, but I think that's the whole point, is that it shouldn't be a mobile quarterback because no one's expecting that, right? Either way, it didn't work. So 16-20. Now the Rams are just trying to keep the Bengals from scoring again, and they did a pretty darn good job. You know, at least in the pass rush, they got to Burrow 7 times. And I swear, so they haven't like thrown any flags during the game at all. And until, I forgot what team it was. I think it was the Bengals. They scored a touchdown, and a player that was inactive for the game, so he was not in uniform, he ran out in celebration with the rest of the team, and that was the first flag of the game. So not calling face masks, or like the game was kind of getting a little violent at times too, where like punches have been thrown and they're just not throwing flags. They're just kind of breaking it up. Like, it's a Super Bowl, let them play, I guess. But you know, history shows that if the referees don't control the game, then the players start to, and it gets a little out of hand. So fourth quarter, you know, it finally seemed like that's when Stafford's passing offense like finally woke up, and Cooper Kupp had to step up because Odell Beckham Jr. was out of the game. Van Jefferson was there. He wasn't making like any real plays. He had 8 targets for like 4 catches, but nothing, you know, that's going to stand out. Nothing that's going to make you look forward to next season. How about that? The Rams are marching down the field. They get into the end zone, or I'm sorry, the red zone. They're in the red zone. And the referees throw a flag for defensive pass interference. And then you watch the replay, you don't really see defensive pass interference. And in my opinion, it looked like they were trying to make up for the non-call of the face mask from Higgins on Ramsey when the Bengals scored. And they're just trying to make up for that and I guess make it even for the Rams and give them an opportunity to try to score again. Because, these guys have not thrown flags all game long. And then during like this last drive of the Rams, it was like 3 flags in a row. One of them did actually take a touchdown away because both teams ended up getting a foul, but the Rams did end up scoring. To go figure, went to Cooper Kupp. So now the Rams are up 23-20. The Bengals had about a minute and 20 left on the clock. They're marching down the field. You know, it all kind of looked exciting, like they're going to march down the field. You know, they can easily kick a field goal because Mcpherson has just been 100%. He's locked in. Obviously, they would want to go for the touchdown for the win. And then in 4th and 1, the pass rush of Aaron Donald and company was too much for Joe Burrow. They got around his hips. He twirled around, tried to make a pass, and it was incomplete. So 39 seconds left in the game. The Rams had the ball. Aaron Donald is going around the stadium telling everybody to put a ring on it. Game over. So here are the final stats. The NFL champions, LA Rams, playing in their home field, so they definitely had literally the home field advantage in this game. But Matthew Stafford ended with 283 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Akers had 13 rushes for only 21 yards. That's an average of 1.6 yards per carry, with a long of 8 yards. This is horrible. Which I mentioned this on our last episode, that Akers might struggle, and then they should be utilizing their other running backs to try to spark something. Because sometimes it's not, your offensive line versus their defensive line. It could just be your running back. But they really didn't try with anybody else. They gave 4 opportunities to Henderson and 2 opportunities to Sonny Michel, and neither of them really did much with that. But Cooper Kupp, 10 targets, 8 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is the MVP pretty much of the regular season and the Super Bowl. So I think he got the triple crown. He got most yards, most catches, most touchdowns. And yeah, he's just amazing player this season. Everything really just fell his way. Odell Beckham Jr. had 3 targets, but with those 3 targets, he had 2 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. And definitely feel like if he would have played that second half, that Cooper Kupp didn't have to do as much work, but Odell might have outshined Kupp. On the Bengals side of the ball, cool Joe Burrow had 263 yards, 1 touchdown, and got sacked 7 times. Did not throw an interception, though. Very impressive. This is Joe Burrow's 2nd season in the NFL. This is only the 2nd time someone of that stature made it to the Super Bowl. That was only Russell Wilson was the only guy to ever do that. So this is obviously a great learning experience for Joe. The other Joe Mixon, he had 15 rushes for 72 yards. Not that bad for an average of 4.8 yards per carry. No touchdowns, though. Higgins, and he had 7 targets for 4 catches, 100 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But, 40 yards and a touchdown, that should be taken away because of that obvious face mask call that just wasn't called. And then Jamar Chase had 8 targets for 5 catches for 89 yards. And of course, Mcpherson, 2 for 2 along with 38, made all of his extra points. All right, our next episode, when Mark comes back, we're going to dive into last season's rookies. So go over the quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, and wide receivers, and just kind of let you know how they progressed through the season and what we think their outlook of next season will be. So that is all we have for you on this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.